Hey guys, just want to take a minute to kind of tell you guys what's been going on in my life, and why some videos haven't come out or anything. On the 27th, a big inspiration in my life, a person who taught me to live the way I live, who inspired me when I was younger, I've been looking up to since I was 6-7 years old. She passed away. Mary Lou, my grandma. This is for you. I just want to take a time to let you guys all know that we lost a full-timer, and she was an amazing woman, and she was truly one of the best. So here's a moment for you guys to learn about her. So enjoy. Oh, Mary Lou, my grandma. What an awesome lady. She was born in 1926. She graduated high school at the age of 16. She met my grandpa because of her brother, who was in the service together, and they got married. Now, when she graduated, she married my grandpa. She actually drove 18-wheelers for many, many, many years. She was the only woman back then that was driving big rigs, backing them up and doing all that kind of stuff with them that nobody else would do. She was quite incredible. So she lived on the road many years before RVing in the truck with my grandpa. And my grandma and grandpa, they had 2 children, my mom and my uncle. My uncle had 3, and my mom had 2. My grandma always wanted to be a grandma and a great-grandma. Now, she was a huge part of my life growing up. We spent a lot of time together. I remember when growing up, they had a place in Eastern Washington in a little town called Crumback. Now, they always had a motorhome and such that they'd go traveling and things like that. But I remember when I was young, really young, they sold their house and bought a fifth wheel and decided to hit the road and travel, and they lived full-time for many, many, many years. I remember them traveling around, and they would come back, and I would think how amazing the places they got to go and the things they got to see. And I was always blown away about the thought of living and traveling like that on the road. Now, they lived like that for countless years. Most of my childhood growing up that I can remember, all the way up till I was a teenager, till things between my grandma and grandpa went different ways. That's a whole nother story, and I'm not going to get into all that. And it was all justified. And yeah, anyways, they had lived that way for as far back as I can remember, since I was a little kid. Now, my grandma then moved to Bellingham, Washington, where we lived, and she had got a little apartment in Bellingham, little studio, and she lived there for quite a few years. And I grew up, and then I started having children, and my brother started having children, and my cousin started having children. Now, me and my oldest cousin, we had a baby race going on, as they would say. My grandma was so excited to be a great-grandma. And in this baby race, my oldest cousin was having a baby, and I was having a baby, which was Isaiah. Everybody kept talking about who was going to be born first, because they were right around the same due dates. Well, guess what, guys? They were born on the same day. Isaiah did win the race by like 9 hours or so, but my grandma became a great-grandma. My grandma did become a great-grandma 2 times in 1 day. She was ecstatic because I was the last baby to be born, and since she had grandkids, and she watched Isaiah be born, so that was a big one for her. She was extremely happy, and she wasn't sure she was going to get to see grandkids. My brother had kids, and my other cousins had kids, and my grandma had an entourage of grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, and she was ecstatic as ever, and she figured that was it. Now, my grandma being such a lucky woman, we don't call great-grandmas great-grandmas, and me, my brother, my mom, or anybody. Actually, we figure every grandma's great. Then when you become a great grandma in my family, you became a special grandma. So when you become a great-great-grandma, you are a super special grandma. That's how we've always said it in my family. That's how it stays, and that's how it goes. My mom now is a special grandma, so she's already gets to live up to that one, because I became a grandfather when I married April, and my stepson had children, and I have quite a few grandchildren. So my grandma then got to meet Ryder, who was around. My grandma then got to meet her great-great-grandchild, Ryder. And her and Ryder actually got to spend quite a bit of time together. And that was something that she was ecstatic about. She absolutely was blown away and extremely happy that she got to be a super special grandma and got to know and spend quite a few years getting to know her great-great-grandchild. So she had 5 generations. Her, my mom, me, my kids, and then my great-grandchildren, or my grandchildren, her great-great-grandchildren. So she had 5 generations that she got to know personally and spend time with. So she had her little house there in Bellingham for about 12 years, and then she went ahead and bought a 28-foot travel trailer with 2 slides, and went back to RVing full-time at about the age of 87, 88 years old, somewhere in there. And she continued to live full-time RV, stationary, at my mom's house, but still on her own, by herself. She lived full-time RV in this travel trailer. I skirted all around the bottom of it and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, it was attached to my mom's house and all that kind of stuff. You can see right here. It's right next door to my mom's. And if you check the very back lot back here, yep, that's us parked right back there. That's the last time we were there. And she was up front. So anyways, I had intended on making an interview with her. I talked to her about it a few times because it was just fascinating me. She lived another 7 years or so in an RV at the age of 90, 91, 92, 93, alone. Well, I mean, my grandma was there and everybody could help her out and everything, but she lived capable in her mind, was able to get up and do things, took care of herself for the most part. She started to get a little wore down there the last year and started having a nurse come over once a week or so and help out. Then she just started getting real bad, guys, and she just started falling a bit. She went to the hospital a while back when we were there, and they kept her for a couple weeks and made sure she was going to be okay, and she was after a fall. But the doctor said, you need to maybe look into assisted living. And well, he gave her a couple weeks at the hospital. She got better and was doing good and was able to move around, so they decided not to push for the assisted living and let her be. And I still didn't do the interview. Keep this in mind, guys. Don't put things off that you want to do like that, because you never know how long you got with somebody. Right towards the end of us being there, she decided that she told my mom, I've had enough and I'm ready to go. And she went on hospice within 10 days. Now, I did get to say goodbye to her, and she got to give us all a hug and tell us she loved us. And she looked at me and she said, you have a good trip, Sagan. I said, you too, Grandma, I love you. And she says, I love you too. Now, she got to say goodbye the way she wanted to. She didn't want to live at a home. She got to stay at her place in her RV just like she wanted, right there at my mom's house. She says, put out back with her wishing well set up and her bench and everything, so everybody can come see her and my mom can talk to her. And that's where she wanted to stay. So she gets to stay exactly the way she wanted to. Yes, I miss my grandma. I love her to death, and I will always miss her. But my family's at peace because she lived exactly the way she wanted to. To be that old, to still live alone, to be sound mind. She could tell you every single thing. She was really at a sound mind for her age. And she'd remember back, she'd tell you all the stories of her past, and she'd laugh and she'd think about everybody as kids. And she had a pretty spot on memory. So past, it was rough the last few days for my mom. This is the last picture of her actually being coherent. And then she just kind of laid there until she passed. My mom kept telling her it was okay to go, but she gave it a fighting effort up until her last moment. But she finally let go on November 27th. She finally let go just before noon in the afternoon. She's probably the longest living full-timer I've ever known, or I ever will know, and the oldest to live full-time on her own. She was an incredible and remarkable woman, and I will always admire her and grow and cherish everything that she showed me and taught me along the way. Mary Lou, Grandma, we love you. You're with the angels. You had such an amazing life, and you touched everybody around you. May you rest in peace. And just like your smiles and all your pictures here, I know you're smiling still, and you're happy, and you're proud of your family. Well, thanks guys for listening to this. I just wanted to put this little video out, share a little bit about her, so everybody could know that she was an amazing person, and that she probably was the oldest full-timer living alone. I know I put out that last video, and it didn't have nothing to do with RVing. It was just a video to get it out there. But yeah, that kind of plays a part into why I haven't got any videos out either. Wish I could have got that interview, guys, but I'm okay. And that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't all work out. I should have made a little bit more time, but I was busy. It's no excuse. I should have put time aside for my grandma. I did put time aside and talk to her and give her hugs, and she was okay and happy that with what I was doing. She was actually ecstatic that we live the way we do. She was always happy and would always want to know where we were at and how we were doing and stuff when we started doing this. And she'd tell my mom all the time, where are they at? My mom would tell her, she'd say, I've been there, and because she's been everywhere. So she was ecstatic she was always extremely happy that we live the way we do, and she wants us to. She wanted us to, and she's my biggest inspiration on doing it, because it was the first person I ever seen live this way. I've watched it since I was a young boy at 6, 7 years old, and that's when I became interested. And if there was anybody still full-time in it after they passed on, it'd be my grandma. She'd be camping up there, still living full-time, I'm sure of it. So